All right, everybody, welcome back to House of Prep. Today, I want to talk about school closures. So the direction of this video, the way we're headed here, is underneath my video where the comments are. At some point, um, hit all the comments, go in there, and I'd like to hear an update of your area. If you have kids in school, or maybe they're at home with at-home learning, the virtual learning, or college kids, or if you have grandchildren, or maybe you don't have kids, but you know of your area. You're very familiar with the schools in your area on how they're conducting themselves right now, how they're doing business, with all the changes that are taking place again. Another wave, another time. So as you're on your way down to the comments, don't forget to hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button, the little bell, get your reminders. But let's talk about schools. We've already been through this earlier this year, and we've already seen how it can affect people. Now, when you hear the media talk about it, they tell you how they feel it's affecting people and stuff. But here on YouTube and using some of our channels, we have the opportunity to go into the comments and talk about it and kind of see right from the people how it affects you. If you have a house full of kids, all of a sudden now they're home trying to do school. Where do you even begin? Depending on what areas you live in, some people don't have internet. Maybe they can't afford it. Maybe they can't get it at their house, or an internet at a good enough speed to where all the kids can be on it doing their school at the same time. That's an obstacle. Getting laptops to them and the school supplying that. Schools are on a budget, just like a household is. It's like a business. Your household financials is like a business. The school is like a business. They have a budget every year. So as soon as all these changes start taking place, it starts shifting that budget all around, and somebody has to sit down and try to make it all work out. And I know through the government assistance and trying to give money to the schools, sometimes it's not enough. Teachers, how does it affect teachers? If you're a teacher, I'd love to see your comments. I'd love to hear from you, or if you have a teacher somewhere in your family, maybe a spouse, maybe a son or a daughter, maybe a parent, somebody who's been in the teaching field, maybe you're a retired teacher. Would love to hear some of your comments. Teachers that I know and that I'm around, it definitely adds a lot of work. It adds a lot more stress. From sometimes, look, there's different types of this lockdown. Sometimes people are still in school. Maybe there's some that have never even been in school since the start of 2020, when this kind of all hit the fan per se. Maybe they have been on virtual learning ever since, and when this new school year started, they haven't been to school. That might be your case. That might be your area in your state. I'd love to hear about that. Again, you hear bits and pieces on the media, but you don't totally hear down where the rubber meets the road, where people live. How does it affect you? So teachers, we talked about that. We talked about different aspects of the school. You don't just have the teachers. You have custodians. You have bus drivers. You have cross guard workers and people that all these different levels, people get paid for that. Well, when the school shuts down, a lot of those other side jobs, those smaller jobs around it, very important jobs, they cease to exist at that point. When there's no children coming, you don't need all that. Cafeteria workers. Now, in a lot of cases, if a school has a set budget, different, like teachers continue to get paid, different aspects, principals, people continue to get paid, especially, they're still working. But there are different aspects of it that they're not paid for those other different aspects. Maybe the crossing guards, or a volunteer bus rider, or someone who got paid to help ride on a bus, or sometimes in some instances, maybe even the bus driver. I'm sure state by state that's different. If you have some insight on that, I would love to see some comments. I'd love to hear about that. Kind of like what we've been doing with the food shortage videos that I make. I've been trying to do those once a week. I love seeing the comments. I love seeing, not even just in America, but other countries. How are you other countries doing? Come on, England, Canada, Australia. Some of you have been commenting, and I appreciate that. Let's talk about the schools. How are your schools? in the other countries. I think a lot of people would be interested in seeing that. Again, not just what you're hearing from the media, but from actual real life people, that this is what we're doing, this is what we're experiencing. And how does this affect the children? I'd love to hear about that. Talk about how that affects the children. We're in school, we're out of school, we're at home learning. It's hard to focus, I think, through all this. And even if now you're at home and you're not used to trying to have to be self-motivated to learn and to do the work at home, and the social aspect, not being around your friends, not being able to experience the sports, the team sports. I know a lot of schools, they had brought those back for this school year, obviously with restrictions and safety measures, safety precautions, which were great. But one by one, teams are starting to have to stop playing, and they're in quarantines, and they no longer can compete. And another school that might be healthy, now they can't play their game because the other school's sick. Look through all the college sports. I love Saturday football. I love watching all the college teams, but man, it's been hard. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan, and we haven't played every game, and we may not play this Saturday. And so even in sports and the college students that are experiencing college life, and they're not getting that same opportunity that maybe we all had through the years, not to be able to know what to expect. Week by week, month by month, sometimes day by day. Are we having class? Are we not? Are we having to go home? Are we doing online learning, in-person learning? Do we get to play sports this week? Or do we have practice? Are we quarantined? Do we get to play against that team this week? There's just so much to it when there's school closings. And I'm curious, and I'm not the most educated man in the world, but I'm kind of under an impression, and I'm kind of thinking that with all of this up and downs and the school closures and this and that and not having a consistency, how's that going to affect our children that are growing up through this, especially if this continues on into next year? How is this going to affect their education as they are then going through state testing in a year or 2 years from now? Are we going to start seeing a decline in grades, and a decline in maybe college opportunities for scholarships and things, because their GPA now is taking a hit because of some of the learning that they missed? Let's face it, learning is just like a ladder. You have a step rung, and you have another step rung, and you have another one. Well, if you start missing some of those rungs in the process of all the changes and the movements, and if a couple of them rungs get lost, I tell you what, I don't want to climb on that ladder, to get to my roof to hang Christmas lights. I don't want to be on that ladder, and it's rough. That can make another obstacle. Now, can it be overcome? Absolutely. People can work hard and overcome that stuff, but some children, I don't know. I think it would take a hit, and it would be discouraging. We talked about the ramifications too of kids being at home. What about the parents with work? Now, if you have a bunch of young kids, maybe you got 2 or 3 younger kids, they can't stay at home by themselves. The oldest one's not old enough to babysit, and they can't be the babysitter and the teacher and the parent. They can't do all that. So now if both parents are working, how does that affect you? Again, you hear that announced on the news, but I'd like to hear the in person. I'd like to hear from the people that this affects. How does that affect you with your work? And if someone has to take off work, and then your finances, that now takes a hit on your budget. Look, I'm not condoning anything. I'm not trying to say shutdowns are good or bad. That's not what this video is about. This video is, I want to hear from the people. I want to hear from you. What is going on? If it's your home, it's your area, your state, your community, your county that you live in. How is this affecting everybody? And being at home like that 24/7, how does that affect everybody's spirit and their emotions? And does it create more conflict because everyone's just around each other all the time? And especially if parents, did you have to step in that role of teaching or homeschooling now? And were you prepared for that? And how is that affecting you? How is that affecting you? Look, I applaud you. If you've Mom, Dad, if you stepped up and you've had to raise the bar in your household and you've had to help overcome some of these things with teaching your kids and trying to help, weather the storm through this, look, I applaud you. Teachers, with all the extra work you've done and all the extra that you've taken on your plate trying to do kids. Look, some of these schools, kids come on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. The other group comes on Tuesday and Thursday. Then the next week, everybody switches. Look, there's all kinds of scenarios out there. There's not like just a set national board. And I know it's state by state, county by county. But again, tell me what's going on. I'd love to see that comment. I think there's others that would love to see comments to kind of, let's share that. We're kind of building a nice community here at House of Prep. And it's a great opportunity to share information, things that we would not otherwise know. There's things I'm learning from you guys and from watching videos and reading the comments, and I'm learning other areas, and I'm like, wow, some of this stuff's eye-opening with some of the things that people say and talk about, and they explain their areas and in different countries, and I'm learning so much, hearing about some of the other countries, and we need to learn from that. We need to learn from each other and to try to encourage each other to help each other out and say, hey, you know what? We're going to make it through this. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. You just need a place to vent. And that's what this can be. This can be a place to talk. It can be a place to vent. We are respectful. We do respect each other. We have to understand that everybody's different. Everybody has points of view. Everybody's dealing with this in different ways. So you have to be understanding if somebody's more frustrated, or maybe someone just doesn't understand, or they make a comment, but they haven't lived through it. So maybe their comment doesn't apply to you because you've been living through it, and you'd be like, hey there, buddy, this is what's the truth, and this is what's going on. And until you've seen it and you've lived it, you don't know. Until you walk in my shoes, right? Until you walk my mile, you really don't have a clue what we deal with here. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I appreciate you watching this video. Again, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, please. And don't forget to leave a comment. If you have never left one before, just go ahead and just leave a little comment in there. Even if you just say, hey, just checking in, and I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a great rest of the day. And I will talk to you guys later this week. Bye now.